Hey, everybody. Welcome to the SharkPrenuer podcast. Today, I have the good fortune to be talking to David Baer. David is a veteran direct response marketer who started his career selling classical music subscriptions online at the dawn of email marketing. Since then, his copy and strategic guidance have earned his employees and clients millions in sales. He's served clients in industries ranging from theater and opera to wine and health and wellness to professional services. David and his partner Ken Cook run their marketing strategy from the Prepared Group. David, thanks so much for joining us today.
Yeah, indeed. I'm so happy to be here. I realized that I neglected to share one other important thing that I think is of interest to some folks in your audience, which is something I just shared with you in our private chat.
Yes, you are the co-author of Systematic Advisor Marketing, How Financial Advisors Can Strategically Attract, Convert, and Retain More Clients. Awesome.
Cool.
All right, so let's go back in time a little bit. We got to talk about it. How do you sell classical music subscriptions online back, in the 90s?
So, first of all, a lot of people were just getting into AOL and CompuServe and Prodigy and all of those. And our box office system suddenly one day added this field that we could collect email addresses. So I was working at Lincoln Center. I ran a performing arts center up in Westchester County, just north of New York City. And this was kind of a new channel to communicate. And so we took full advantage of it. And not only were we doing the traditional brochures and the postcard follow-up saying, hey, Yasha Heifetz is performing or whoever it might be, we started emailing all of our stuff as well, which is typical for today. But back then it was brand new. And the bonus back then was open rates were really, really high.
Yes, because every time it said, you've got mail, people are like, ooh, I got mail. Want to go check it out.
Exactly. Yeah. So it was a great period of time. And I think that this additional channel probably, I'd never really looked at the stats because it was, in my infancy as a marketer and I didn't know to look at data as much as I do now. But I imagine that we probably made a lot of sales that we wouldn't have otherwise made and filled some seats in those theaters as a result.
So this wasn't like Columbia House. You weren't selling a record of a classical music of the month club. This was
these were concerts.
Yes.
Yeah. These were live performances. That's what we were doing. It was basically getting butts and seats.
Awesome. So then that's quite a foray as your first entry into the world of online marketing. How did that lead to you starting the Prepared Group?
Well, it's very indirect. I don't know if I've just lost you.
No. I moved you to full screen.
Got it. So it was somewhat indirect. I left the performing arts world. I was a stage manager and I was working in theater as well as classical music. I then moved into the wine business as well. For those of you who are watching this on video rather than listening, you can see I'm a big wine guy. I have my giant Burgundy maps right behind me. That's not Ron Burgundy. That's Burgundy, the wine region. And I became an event producer and marketer in the wine industry. And that brought me from New York City out here to where I currently live, which is Portland, Oregon. Our company folded. And I was looking for work, and ultimately that led to me opening a digital agency where I was running Facebook ads. I thought initially for wineries, but most of the wineries kind of laughed me out of the office when I proposed Facebook as a platform for them, because this was 2009, and most of them still sort of equated Facebook with college kids. So I ended up kind of working in a completely different arena as a result, and worked with a lot of coaches and trainers and online startups where I was doing Facebook ads.
Okay, so what do you think are some of the most common mistakes those business owners are making when it comes to trying to grow their business and market it online?
Well, I think these are not necessarily exclusive to online mistakes. I think that part of the range of problems that businesses have in marketing in general is a result of the way that marketing is bought and sold. I think that the system is kind of broken, because the way that we buy and sell marketing, and ultimately, typically a business is informed about their marketing options, comes from those who sell the marketing service or the marketing or the advertising space. And therefore, there's nobody who really sort of helps them see the big picture and range of options. So most businesses, their nephew says, the business owner's nephew says, hey, you should be advertising on TikTok. It's really hot right now. And they hear that and go, oh, I guess I should. And they do that. They are reactive to whatever is right in front of them at the moment, because unlike, 100 years ago, the range of places where somebody can advertise, where somebody can market their business is so broad, so overwhelming, so confusing that most businesses don't know where to begin. So they kind of, go by their gut or go by whatever happens to be right in front of them or what is being sold to them at the moment. So that's, I think, a huge, huge mistake.
That makes total sense. Can you give us some examples of the types of businesses you're working with now? And we'll talk about the book in a minute, and how you're helping them solve that and the other problems.
Sure. So we work primarily with professional services businesses, but we also do a lot of work with other businesses, as we're subcontracted by a lot of digital agencies and other folks. So, for example, I said professional services. We're actually working with one of the 3 existing personal submarine manufacturers in the world right now. So we got lots of different businesses that we'll get to that some other time. I'm
sorry, did you say personal submarine manufacturer?
Yeah. So these guys who have mega yachts, they got the yacht, right? They already have the helicopter so that they can fly above the yacht and above the water. So what's next? Go below the water. So there's 3 different companies in the world that sell personal submarines, or they call them submersibles, for these billionaires who own these yachts. And we're working with one of them.
Awesome. And my wonderful wife says she's listening to the wisdom. Thank you, honey. So wait a minute, personal submersible. So how are you marketing? Because we have a number of financial services and other clients who market to the ultra high net worth crowd that would probably be the prospect for this. Yes. So how are you reaching those people, and how are you selling them a personal submarine?
Okay, so let's step back for a moment, because what we do now is actually the solution to the problem that I just shared with you about the challenges of the ways that businesses buy and sell marketing. And it's that we're actually not an agency. My partner, Ken, who you've met, and we both came from the agency and services world. And we saw how problematic it was when a client would come to us and say, I need leads, or and we met their expectations, hopefully exceeded their expectations, often overwhelming their business, and they didn't have the capacity to keep up with what we were doing for them. And we saw problems in that. So we tried to help them on the back end. All right, now let's figure out the systems that you need to have in place to be able to accommodate the additional amount of business. So our business is actually not a marketing agency. What we do instead is consulting around marketing strategy, helping businesses step back from the marketing activities that they're involved in to try to prioritize where they are going to be most likely to identify and get revenue, and then put systems in place to be able to maximize their revenue and minimize the amount of time and money and effort they're putting into front-end marketing, getting new clients in the door. So the answer to your question is, we're not involved directly in getting high net worth individuals in front of the submarines.
Awesome. That would be really cool, though. I would be curious how you solve that marketing challenge.
We are helping them, and actually a lot of that stuff is, as you imagine, with the advisors that you work with who are after the same clientele, it's all about getting in front of them in person. There's no click funnels hacking that you're going to be doing here to get in front of this audience. It's
right. Nobody's putting in $100,000, $200,000 deposit on their credit card for a submarine.
Exactly.
How'd you get introduced to that client?
So this was through one of our subcontracting projects, and it was a company that is overhauling their website, and we are working through the redesign and messaging of the website. And as a result, I got, you know the routine when it comes to copywriting is as much research as you can possibly put into the process is going to really enhance the result. And so I got a chance to talk to a lot of people in this space, including people who do underwater excursions and who work on and support these mega yachts, people who make documentary films in these underwater submersibles. So I learned some really, really cool stuff about this world.
I bet you did. All right. Sorry to sidetrack you. God, that was so fascinating. So what inspired you to write the book?
Well, here, one of the principles of what we teach all of our clients, and I know that this is something that you probably counsel folks on too, is getting narrow in order to get heard. And in order for us to demonstrate this, I had been doing this Facebook advertising stuff I told you earlier, and I realized I'm kind of marketing to everybody. I got to pick someone. And as I was going around to different networking groups here in Portland, I saw the sad, sorry group of financial advisors who would always show up at these things, always have a pitiful, presentation. And I thought, oh, that's a market I can go after. And so I think about 7 or 8 years ago now, I put up a website called Advisor Inbound, and I did nothing with it except rank it. I got it, ranked highly on Google. I had some opt-in forms, and I had advisors reaching out to me. And so I just sort of started slowly getting to understand this industry. And so when it came time for us to decide on a focus so that we could demonstrate to our clients how this works, Ken and I decided, well, this is a natural. Not only are we going to focus on the advisors that we already have as clients, but let's build out an entire way to represent us as authoritative, knowledgeable experts in this space. And the best way to do that, as you well know, and as you teach, is with a book. And so that's how the book came about.
Awesome. That yes, I would agree 100% with writing the book to become the authority on the topic and share your wisdom and get people to want to work with you. Your passion's obvious. What do you like best about what you're doing now?
Well, I would say that I've always been a teacher and educator at heart. Going back to the wine stuff, I love living here just outside of Oregon wine country, because when I get sick and tired of sitting in front of a computer and having these virtual meetings, which I've done long before COVID ever came, I hop in a van and I guide people around wine country. And I love teaching them and educating them about that stuff. I think you also know that I'm a musical theater geek, and I love sharing my passion and interest about that. Well, I'm also a huge marketing geek. And so helping solve problems and teaching people how to implement stuff that I know into their business is what gets me excited about the stuff I'm doing here.
Absolutely. What is it that you think, how do you help people discover what's most captivating about their business that they may not even realize would attract the right prospects?
I'm sure that you know the story about Claude Hopkins and his tour through the Schlitz beer factory. And that it's a great one in the marketing copywriting space about how he goes through and he sort of sees all of these things that they believe are mundane and boring and typical and everybody does it kind of stuff. Well, that's a story I share, and there's a punchline to this, which is that he then takes some of the things that they're doing regarding the hygiene and the cleanliness and how many times they wash the bottles and stuff like that, and uses it in marketing them. Now, it's stuff that's typical across the industry, but because nobody else is talking about it, he's found a way to leverage that and put it into the mind of the consumer. So I share that story with my clients a lot to help inspire them to dig deep into what's going on in their business so that we can identify those cool little things that they take for granted.
You've served so many different industries and so many different clients over the years. What have been, other than the submersible, because we talked about that already, what have been some of your favorite results that you've been able to help clients achieve?
Well, I love working with wineries. We're working with a winery right now, and I told you what happened back in 2009 when I went to wineries and I said, "Hey, let's get you on Facebook," and a lot of them ignored me, and a lot of them are still ignoring it. And so, by introducing some very simple, practical things that a lot of us who spend time deep in direct response marketing, whether it's online or offline, and taking these principles and introducing them to a business. Well, I'm doing this right now with a winery. I'm taking the idea of the newsletter premium model, the one that places like Agora or Boardroom might use, where they're selling a book or they're selling a free report, and that's what their marketing is focusing entirely on. But you can only get access to it if you subscribe to the newsletter. Well, I've just taken that idea with one of my winery clients, and we've found ways to market around premiums rather than marketing around the wine club. And we're seeing that that's turning into wine club members as a result. So it's super cool to take these, old, tired, staid marketing concepts, at least seemingly old and tired and staid, and introducing them to a different arena and seeing the eyes in my clients light up and go, "Wow, that's amazing. Nobody does that. I want to do more of that." And then they become junkies like me.
All right. So I love that you took an Agora model that's been cloned with varying degrees of success by lots of other folks in the marketing and newsletter publishing industries. I love that you applied it to a whole different vertical and made it work. That's brilliant. And I'm kicking myself that I haven't done it more myself, given that Agora at various times of the years has been a client of ours, and I've been fortunate enough to work with them. You give advice every day. What's some of the best advice you've ever gotten?
Wow. Well, one of the ones that I think is most important is to stay in my lane and focus. And I got to say, it's a challenge every day to do that. I've become very disciplined in this particular business, but I happen to notice that you signed up for a giveaway that I had posted online this week, and
yes,
that's my other side business that I really neglect, because it's where I focus on entrepreneurship and copywriting and all the things that are not in the lane that I've chosen. And so I think, to the extent that I possibly can, I need to continue to follow the advice about discipline, staying in my lane, not filling up my hard drive with a bunch of stuff that collects dust, not buying as much stuff on AppSumo, all of those things.
Great advice. What are you wrote the book?
Yeah.
You're not allowed to quote yourself. What are 3 of your favorite books?
Oh, wow. Well, they are not all about marketing. 2 of my very favorite books are theater books. One is Frank Rich's, Frank Rich was the chief theater critic for the New York Times when I was coming up, and he wrote this brilliant history of theater and musical theater and his life, called Ghost Light, which is that light that they put on the middle of the stage for those folks who don't know, when they shut down the theater at night. And it's a beautiful, beautiful book. There is another book that I love about theater, which is about this producer whose name just escaped me, called The Abominable Showman. It was written by Howard Kissel, who was a theater critic also, and it was about David, who was that awful producer in the 60s through the 80s. Gosh, it's escaped me completely. But it's all about his very smart business savvy. And it'll come to me as soon as we're done with this. But
of course,
it's called The Abominable Showman, and it's a brilliant book, and it's beautifully told by Howard Kissel. The last book.
Give us one business or marketing book, considering that this isn't a theater show, even though I am a musical theater geek myself, which you know.
Yes. The last book, I would say this is easily, there we go, a super, super book, which is for those of you who are listening, it's called Breakthrough Advertising by Eugene Schwartz. But if you want something that's more accessible, Over Deliver by Brian Kurtz, who worked with Eugene Schwartz and a lot of these other great copywriters, it goes into the business practices around really building out a finely data-informed business that also capitalizes on the emotional impact that one has to consider in marketing.
Absolutely. Both
it's not foreign.
Both are phenomenal books. Eugene Schwartz's book is not publicly available, but obviously,
well, actually, it is.
Oh, okay. We got it. You got it. Obviously,
Brian Kurtz owns the rights. He sells it, and I believe you can find it online at breakthroughadvertisingbook.com.
All right.
For a hefty fee, by the way.
Right. That I was going to say, you can't just go on Amazon. If you go on eBay or something, you'll end up paying hundreds of dollars for it. So yes, go check it out through Brian. David, before we wrap, for our folks who are watching and listening and want to learn more about you and the book and all things Prepared Group, where is the best place for us to send them?
Well, conveniently, we have an easy to remember website. It's thepreparedgroup.com.
thepreparedgroup.com. Awesome. That link is now below. This has been Seth Green for SharkPrenuer with David Baer of thepreparedgroup.com. David, anything else you want to share before I let you go? I know your time is super busy.
No, this has been awesome, Seth. I really appreciate the opportunity to chat and share a lot of different pieces of my very brief marketing history.
It's not as brief as you think it is. You've been around a lot longer than some of the gurus in our niche.
That's true.
And going back to your classical, selling butts in the seats for classical music. So we greatly appreciate your time. Thank you, everybody, for watching or listening. We'll see you next time. David, thanks for being here.
Thanks, Seth.